All right, welcome back in. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you here today. We're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs for the 2020 season. Going to check out the offense. If you hear some fireworks before my video stops, that's either leftover from July the 4th weekend, or maybe it's some fans in Kansas City still celebrating you guys' latest Super Bowl championship. I hope most of you appreciate, and I think most of you do, how rare it is not only to win a Super Bowl, but to have almost the same team coming back. I kind of tongue in cheek joked a few months ago that the Chiefs could do this if they wanted. In 2019, they were much more aggressive during the offseason than I expected them to be. And here in 2020, they've been much more laid back and careful than I expected them to be. That's fine, though. You've got the team that won the Super Bowl. You've upgraded in a couple of places, or at least given yourself the chance to be better in a couple of places. So it's very rare to win a Super Bowl. It's even more rare to get to bring the same team back to try to do it again. You go back to the 90s with the Dallas Cowboys and the 80s with the 49ers and the 70s when you had the Steelers, the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Vikings, etc., the Dolphins in the early 70s. They could bring back the same team year after year after year. You just cannot do that consistently in today's NFL, but the Chiefs get to do it here for 2 seasons in a row. Not only win a Super Bowl, but bring back almost the same identical team with a couple of changes here and there, which we'll talk about on offense today. But really special time here for Chiefs fans. Hope you get to enjoy it during the upcoming season. Start here with Patrick Mahomes. No better place to start. He's the best quarterback in football, and I see no reason why he won't continue to be exactly that. I hate to put this tag on him, but so many people in the media already have. He's got a chance here to be a Hall of Famer if he keeps playing the way he's been playing. And he's got a chance if he keeps playing this way to be one of the greatest of all time, to be one of the best that we've ever seen. That's how good he is. That's how good he's playing. And of course, you guys get to see that every single Sunday up close. But not only is he the best quarterback in football, he's getting paid just about the least of anybody in football. The only people who are starting in football right now making less than him are guys who are also on rookie contracts from earlier parts of the contract. There are several backups in the league, several who are making more money than Patrick Mahomes. Now, of course, no need to feel sorry for him. Starting next year, he's going to be making a ton of money. And then certainly by 22, he's going to be making more money than most of us have ever seen in a lifetime. So his payday is coming. He's going to be filthy rich at that point. But for now, best quarterback in the league, making the least money, $5.3 million. It cannot get any better than that. It absolutely cannot get any better than that. And that's what opens the door up to advance the rest of the roster the way you have this offseason and last offseason. You can put that money anywhere you want to, and you also don't feel pressured to draft a certain way to try to find the quarterback that you need. You can basically put these draft picks anywhere that you think is important. And that's what the Chiefs are doing. And they've got a great chance here, not only to win this year, but to kind of sort of set themselves up for 22 and beyond when the finances all just completely changed drastically. And Mahomes is making a huge cap number. So right here at Mahomes, this is the place to start. This is where all the success starts for the Chiefs, and they've built on it. They've built on it very well. Chad Henne is here, your backup. I've got him as a C minus, D plus kind of a player. Henne's not the best backup in the league. He's not the worst. He's a guy who can come in, give you maybe a couple of games like he did last offseason. You won't be drowning, but you hope Mahomes can get back as quickly as possible because you wouldn't want Henne to be starting 8 games during the season. And you certainly wouldn't want Chad Henne going through the playoffs and trying to win your Super Bowl #2. It's just not going to work. But Henne's a decent backup, and for $1.6 million, you can't get any cheaper than that. You'd have to have an undrafted rookie almost to get any cheaper than that. So very good cap number here for Henne. And I've got Shea Patterson as #3 quarterback. Have no clue if he's even going to make the team, but that's the guy I plugged in here. I think you've also got Tamu from Ole Miss. I think it is from 2019. So we'll see who quarterback #3 is. But I've got Patterson up here at $610,000. This sets the table, though, for you right here. Quarterback spot, you already know. I don't have to tell you any more about how good Patrick Mahomes is or how cheap his services are this season and last season. You move over to wide receiver, and the news just keeps getting better and better here, doesn't it? I mean, they've got Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins. You know, you drafted Mecole Hardman out of Georgia last year. He looks like a quality starter. Like, he didn't just play because he had to. He played because he was good enough to play. And this is on a team that already has quite a few offensive weapons. Mecole Hardman comes in. This is an excellent draft pick. It is draft picks like this. And Charlie mentioned this, I think, a year and a half, 2 years ago in the comments section. If you can draft well, most of your money problems disappear. It just takes all the pressure off. Now, nobody's going to draft perfect. The Kansas City Chiefs have draft picks on the team right now who just didn't work out or who probably aren't going to work out. So nobody drafts perfect, but if you can hit enough, if you can make picks like this and picks like Juan Thornhill over at safety, if you can do that, it just takes pressure off of you having to find starters at these positions, and it also takes pressure off of you financially that you don't have to go out in free agency and consistently overpay to have somebody fill a spot that you just cannot seem to fill no matter how many draft picks you throw at it. So Mecole Hardman here, I've got him as a B player for me. Just a quick explanation, a B player is a guy who just fills a quality starter spot. He absolutely deserves to start. He may or may not be making many Pro Bowls. He might make 1 or 2 Pro Bowls in a career, but a B player is just your workman kind of a player. In Mecole Hardman's case, he might actually get better. Second season heading in, he could become an elite guy. You never know. But Hardman looks good. Good draft pick here. $1.1 million there. You move up to Sammy Watkins. Watkins, I don't think we've ever seen the best of Sammy Watkins. Don't know if we ever will see the best of Sammy Watkins. Injuries were a problem at times in Buffalo, but he has played very well. When he's on the field, he plays good. He's fast. He's tough. He is an excellent, excellent player here, Sammy Watkins. $17.1 million here. Is that an overpay? Yes, it is, but you can afford it because of this right here, because of Mahomes, because of this right here, Mecole Hardman, because of Juan Thornhill, because of Charvarius Ward over at CB. Because you've made enough other good draft picks in other places, you can afford to pay extra to keep Watkins around. Now, me personally, this is just my personal preference. I would have probably let Watkins go this year. I would have traded him and got whatever draft pick I could. Don't know if you could have gotten a third or second for Sammy Watkins. I think you probably could have. I would have turned right around and used that on another pick at wide receiver, and I would have taken that same money and tried to go out and find some kind of a veteran at a mid-cap level number on defense. It would have been my personal way to do it. Now, they didn't do it. They don't have to do it. They're bringing back a top-notch offense. They're bringing back a solid defense. So there was no need necessarily to move here on Sammy Watkins, but just me personally looking forward to 22 and 23, I think I would have traded him away and tried to set myself up a little bit more for 22 and 23. Brett Veach hasn't done that, but Brett Veach also has won a Super Bowl and I haven't. So we'll give him every benefit of the doubt in keeping Sammy Watkins and not trading him at this present time. $17.1 million is what he's making. Tyreek Hill making $17.8 million. Does it get any better than Tyreek Hill? I mean, the guy is just an absolute beast on the field. He is fast. He can catch the ball. It's important to know, I said this in the offseason earlier, the rest of the league is trying to copy you because you are so fast, but being fast isn't enough. You have to have guys who can catch the football. And if they can't catch the football, or if they can't run their routes, if they can't understand the offense, then the speed is completely wasted. In Kansas City, you have Hill, Watkins, Hardman, Kelsey. You have these guys, the running backs we're going to look at in a minute. You have guys who, are they fast? Yes, but they also are reliable. They catch the football. So Tyreek Hill, absolutely one of the best wide receivers in football. Once you get past that, you have a huge drop-off in talent, but that's okay. You go 3 deep here at the starting spots. You don't even need that many good wide receivers if you're good at tight end and you're good at running back. But the Chiefs have it, okay? So they're basically injury-proof here. You've got Robinson who can step in. Robinson's a C player. Wouldn't want him starting. But if Robinson were my third receiver, my third best receiver on my team, I'd be okay. If I had 2 other good receivers, Robinson was number 3, I'd be fine. I would have a fine offensive football team here. He's only making $1 million, so the value is excellent. You're not overpaying to keep him around as a 4th wide receiver. I know teams who are paying $7 and $8 million for a wide receiver who is Robinson's caliber because they don't have anybody else at wide receiver. Here, you've got a guy who is the fourth best wide receiver on your team. He's probably the seventh or eighth best offensive weapon on your team, and you're only paying $1 million here for him. So that's excellent. Byron Pringle making $1 million here. After that, you really don't have anybody coming up the pipeline here at wide receiver, but that's okay. You're fine here for the next couple of seasons. If you want to address wide receiver in the draft in 21 and 22, you're fine. There is absolutely no problems here at wide receiver. You are good, you are deep, you are young, and if you need to create money, you can do it right here with Sammy Watkins in 2021, which I kind of expect the Chiefs to do. Moving over here to tight end, Travis Kelce. I already mentioned him. Does it get much better than Travis Kelce? It really doesn't. I mean, there's a couple other guys out there that you can put in his class, and I'm not even sure as Kansas City fans that if you could, you would trade for those guys. I think you'd be perfectly happy with Travis Kelce. $11.2 million, so you're paying him, maybe slightly less than what he's worth. I'm sure if Kelce were to get out there on the free agent market, he could probably rack up more money than that. But you're paying a fair amount here for Travis Kelce's services. A player, this guy is just outstanding. He does everything, and he does everything well. Beyond that, there's a huge drop-off here at tight end, but it doesn't matter. You have so many weapons here, offensive weapons here. If you're Kansas City, they are everywhere. You have three guys at running back, by my way of counting. You have three guys here at wide receiver with a fourth guy who's not bad, and you have one guy here at tight end. So that's a good 7 or 8 guys here that you can get the football to and feel good about them having that football or trying to catch that football. So you're basically injury-proof here. You're also age-proof here if you're the Chiefs. Looking ahead, outstanding job here in bringing guys in through free agency, but more importantly in drafting guys. This is just outstanding work here that the Chiefs have done. Even if Travis Kelce were to go down, you got who else we got here at tight end? Well, we got Ricky Seals-Jones and Deion Yoder. Truth is, I really don't want Ricky Seals-Jones or Deion Yoder on the field. I really don't. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say scrap the tight end position. We're going to go 4 wide receivers, or we're going to go 2 running backs, and we're going to make sure that we have more guys on the field who can catch the football. Now, I do feel like Ricky Seals-Jones is better than Blake Bell. I think his upper end is better. I'm not sure that we've yet seen the best of Ricky Seals-Jones. I think he's more athletic than Blake Bell. I do think that he has the potential, if the Chiefs care to develop him, if the Chiefs care to use him, that he could catch maybe 30 or 40 passes in a season. I don't think they need to. And unless Travis Kelce gets injured and they want to have a tight end, I don't really think Ricky Seals-Jones is going to get a massive amount of playing time, but the Chiefs could work on that if they wanted to. So he's only making $925,000. Deion Yoder making $750,000. I know several teams in the NFL who have a lot more money invested here at tight end who don't have anywhere near the success at tight end that you guys have. Several teams in the NFL have that. You have about $13 million here in 3 guys. Are you deep? No, you're not, but it's okay. You have depth at all the other offensive weapons positions, and as creative as Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy are, they'll find a way to scheme around it when they have this many weapons to choose from, and a quarterback who's as good as Patrick Mahomes is, not only throwing the football, but running the football. So no issue here, even though you don't have the depth. There's a huge drop-off after Kelce. That's okay. You're fine here. Let's talk about some more depth. The news just doesn't get any better here than it does with the Kansas City Chiefs, all right? And believe me, and I would, and I will, and I have tell you and told you if I don't like something on the team. But today it's just about all good news. Let's go to running back. The rich appear to even get richer, and that's true for 2020. Kansas City Chiefs were already good at running back. You already had Damian Williams. You already had Spencer Ware, who was a halfway decent running back. You already had Darrell Williams back there. You already had, I think, McCoy back there, who, in spite of his fumble problems, could catch the ball and run the football. You were already decent at running back last year. You are quite a bit better at running back this year, starting with Edwards-Helaire. Now, I'm not very good, particularly, at projecting people from college up into the NFL. I think I'm okay at it. I'm not great at it. I haven't invested a lot of time doing it. I feel like, based on what I've seen here from Edwards-Helaire out of LSU, that this guy can play running back in the NFL and do it very well. He seems to have power. He seems to have speed. He seems to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's come from a big time program. He's played in big time games. He's played against big time athletes. He had to win the job over big time athletes at LSU, who seem to have big time athletes at every position. Edwards-Helaire seems to check every box that you want for a good NFL running back. Have there been better? Yes. Will there be better? Probably. But you have one here in Edwards-Helaire. Now, I've heard quite a number of people talk about how good a fit he is for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he is. But the truth is, when you have a guy at running back who looks this good, and he does, then he fits anywhere in the NFL. He fits any scheme. He fits anywhere that you want to place him at all. And that's true across the board in the NFL. If a player is good, then they fit any scheme. And players who aren't quite as talented have fewer schemes that they fit. But a player who is this good, you find a way to make him fit your scheme, even if he doesn't ideally fit it at all. Now, I've listened to quite a number of guys, even if you say, well, Ben, you ain't that good at projecting college players into the pros, and I'm not. There are several guys that I respect a lot. I've listened to them. They all say the same thing. Samuel Gold, who you can find on YouTube, does good video work. Brett Coleman on YouTube, again, does great video work. Walt Deptula, you can find him on Twitter. All three of these guys are guys that I listen to. I encourage you to go out and listen to them. They don't just spout a lot of opinions. They do the work. They sit down, they do the film work. A lot of times they'll even share the film work with you and show you how they got to their conclusion. These are not just guys who are there to entertain you. All three of these guys, Samuel Gold, Brett Coleman, and Walt Deptula, don't always agree with them. They're not always right. They don't always agree with each other, but they do excellent work, and they all three seem to agree that this is an excellent pick here for the Chiefs, and that the running back position, even though it was decent last year, has been upgraded already. Now, if that weren't enough, you've got DeAndre Washington here. DeAndre Washington is a guy that a lot of you probably haven't heard a lot of, maybe didn't even pay any attention to it when the Chiefs brought him in. They brought him in for $890,000. He does a lot of things very well. He's not an elite back. You wouldn't want him doing 1,200 snaps a year. He could not carry that kind of load. But DeAndre Washington catches the ball out of the backfield very fluidly. He can run the football. He's not as strong between the tackles as Damien Williams is, or as Edwards-Helaire appears to be. But this is another good running back. You say, well, why didn't we heard of him before? Why didn't he get much playing time with the Raiders? Well, the truth is they had another guy with Jalen Richards, in the Raiders organization, who did a lot of the same things. So they were already kind of splitting time. The Raiders then drafted Josh Jacobs just because they loved what he could do running between the tackles that much. And Jacobs started stealing basically all of the snaps, not because he was good at catching the ball, because he was that good at running between the tackles, just an absolute beast between the tackles. So the Raiders' backfield was filled up, and they just didn't need DeAndre Washington. So he comes to Kansas City. This is a good deal right here, $890,000. Don't even know if you needed DeAndre Washington, but he can catch the ball in the backfield. He's decent at running between the tackles. This is just another good offensive weapon that you add to the Chiefs. I'm a little surprised that more teams didn't go out and put Washington in. Washington would have upgraded most running back positions in the NFL, and a lot of NFL teams just kind of ignored him and let him go. Not sure why that is. When he was with the Raiders during his playing time, he looked good out there on the field. Didn't necessarily play a whole lot, didn't need to play a whole lot, and again, for the Chiefs, you wouldn't want him eating up 1,000 snaps, but this guy can step in and contribute right away and do so very well. Then we get down here to Damien Williams. Now, Williams may or may not be the starter at the start of the season. Have no clue. We'll see what they come up with on the depth chart. But Damien Williams here, $2.7 million for last year's Super Bowl star, who also produced during the regular season. He wasn't just a flash in the pan. The Super Bowl might have been his best game that he'll ever play in his whole career, but this guy's consistent. He runs the ball pretty solidly. He catches the ball in the backfield. He's a big play threat. You have three guys here at running back who are offensive weapons for Patrick Mahomes to go to. This is an excellent backfield. Does it have an elite running back in there? Not sure that it does. We'll see if Edwards-Helaire turns into that elite running back, but you don't need it. You've got guys here who are deep, who don't cost you much money at all. I think when you look at these four running backs together, you're looking at about $7 million all put together. Not unusual for teams, even like the Patriots, to play $5 or $6 or $7 million to one running back just to try to beef up the backfield. Here, you've got a whole group of guys here, And Darrell Williams isn't bad. Darrell Williams could get more playing time. I don't think he'll get much this year thanks to these three guys, but he's only making $755,000. You were injury proof here at the running back position, no matter who you put in. They all do things a little bit differently. Edwards-Helaire projects to be your best runner, I think. But no matter what you do, you've got guys who can catch the ball out of the backfield. It's like having a miniature receiver coming out of the backfield, and that's what the Chiefs are doing. So you're set up very well here at running back. Quarterback is good. Wide receiver is outstanding. Tight end, you've got one of the best in football, even though the depth isn't there. And when you switch over to running back, you're just loaded there as well. The wonderful thing here about running back is if Edwards-Helaire and either Williams or Washington continues to play well, you can save money here because wide receivers are so cotton picking expensive right now. They just really eat up a lot of money if you're going to get a good one. There are plenty of receivers out there who only catch 40 or 50 passes a season, and they're commanding $10 million a year when they hit free agency, and they can sit around and wait for some team to offer them $10 or $11 million a season, and they only catch 40 or 50 balls, and the wide receiver spot is outpriced by a good bit. The running back market is underpriced by a good bit, especially when you can get guys who can catch the ball to the backfield. They're doing the exact same thing from a different position, and the Chiefs here can save money in the future at wide receiver, not only because they've drafted well with Hardman, but if they want to let a guy like Watkins go, they can do that. And even, if you look ahead 2 or 3 seasons, if Tyreek Hill continues to play at a top level and they don't want to pay him that kind of money, because by that time you're paying Mahomes a ton of money, and maybe you need to upgrade the defense again at that point. If you don't want to pay Tyreek Hill that kind of money, you don't have to. These kinds of decisions, this kind of drafting gives you these kinds of options. Now, I wouldn't expect that. I would expect Tyreek Hill to be with the Chiefs for a very long time and to make a lot of money to do so. It gives you these options, though. You have this kind of leverage when you have these young players who are stepping up, and they do not have to be great. If they're filling in a quality starting role and giving you that flexibility, it just makes everything else easier by exponential levels. Offensive line, Eric Fisher. Eric Fisher is just solid year in and year out. I say it every time I make a video about the offensive line. Are you overpaying? Yes. Again, left tackle is a position that is overpaid by several millions of dollars to get a top left tackle. And Eric Fisher, I'm not even sure if he's made a Pro Bowl or not in his career. I honestly can't remember. It doesn't matter. He's just a quality starter. At left tackle, you're paying him $15 million. Is it a bit of an overpay? Yes, but you've got the tackle spot taken care of. For those of you who are like, well, this is the guy we just can't win without, there have been teams. There are teams who are winning right now in the NFL and have done so for the past decade without a dominant left tackle, without a left tackle who makes anywhere near this kind of money, just kind of muddling through at left tackle, somebody who's average and not paying that kind of money. We've seen that. We've seen it from more than one organization. But this is okay. You can do this. Especially with Mahomes on that rookie deal, you have the flexibility to give Eric Fisher $15 million. On the other side, you have Mitchell Schwartz here, who I think is just one of the best right tackles in the game, making $10.8 million. Good deal here, excellent deal. Your tackles are still taken care of. Neither one of them looks like they're slowing down any. They both look like they can keep this pace up for a couple more seasons. So that takes pressure off of you trying to find more tackles here. You have time if you want to draft guys if you feel like doing that. Mike Remmers is a guy. Got him put at tackle, and he has spent most of his career at tackle. But in 2018, I think it was, he spent basically the whole year at guard. Remmers is a guy who can move around. Now, Remmers had a concussion problem at the end of last year. He also had a back problem that was kind of hindering him all through the season. In spite of that, though, Remmers started quite a few games last year, and in addition to that, played very well, played very solidly. When Remmers is on the field, he was a solid starting tackle last year. The year before, he was solid at guard. He has been solid for most of his career. And why NFL teams, again, allow Mike Remmers to go to the Chiefs for $890,000, I really don't understand. I don't know if people just aren't doing their homework, or if the back injury kind of scared them away. To me, this is an absolutely brilliant move here by Brett Veach. And I'm not just sugarcoating this. You guys know, you've heard me before. If the Chiefs do something I don't like, I say it pretty quickly here. This is a good move. This is brilliant. Mike Remmers is a guy who isn't just a plug-in kind of a starter. If he's healthy, he's a guy who is a quality, solid starter. And he can do that at more than one position. He can move around. So I don't think we're going to see Remmers at tackle this year. Matter of fact, hopefully, if everything goes well, Remmers doesn't even play much this year. You've got all the starting spots filled. But if there is an injury, Mike Remmers is the guy. Mike Remmers is the guy who comes in. He can move around without you having to play musical chairs at the offensive line position. Now, you lose Cam Irving off of last year, the last several seasons, and you also lose Wisniewski. Now, me and one of you, I can't remember who it was I was talking with in the comments section, we were wondering what would the price tag be for Wisniewski, whose age is creeping up there, who's never started a lot in his career, but just had an outstanding year last year for the Chiefs, played all the way through the end of the season, into the playoffs, the Super Bowl, just was an outstanding player. He goes to Pittsburgh for 2 years and $2.5 million. Now, if I'd have known that he was going to go to Pittsburgh for peanuts, I would have loved to have seen the Chiefs bring him back. Wisniewski I'm talking about. But Wisniewski moves on to Pittsburgh, and they get him for, just a hill of beans, basically. And Wisniewski played very well for you guys last year. I would have liked to have seen the Chiefs bring him back at that kind of a price level, but they didn't. Instead, they've got Remmers, and Remmers is a guy here who has more starting experience by a long shot than Wisniewski ever had. And Remmers has proven that he belongs on an NFL football field. And you guys don't even need him this year as the starter. He's just there as the backup for $890,000. This is a brilliant move here by Brett Veach, by Andy Reid, by whoever made that decision right here. This is a brilliant move. Even if he turns out to have a back problem all year long, you have nothing invested here, absolutely nothing. You have $890,000. There is no risk here at all, and the rewards stand to be great. They just stand to be absolutely fantastic here for Mike Remmers. You move below that. Martinez Rankin is a guy who injuries took care of him last year. The year before that, he didn't play a lot, didn't play very well. The Texans let him go, I think, the year before that. So we really don't know what Rankin can be. But we know this, from a talent standpoint, coming out of the draft, coming out of college, he looks like a guy who could play on the NFL offensive line for years. We haven't seen that yet. He's going to be buried on the depth chart this year. I don't know if you'll see much of Rankin at all this year, but for $750K, he's a nice guy to have there. He looks a lot better than any UFDA that you could bring in, undrafted free agent, or any 6th or 7th round draft pick you could bring in. He looks better than that. So don't know if you'll see much of him this year or not. Don't know if you'll need to. But Rankin is there, and it's nice to know at least that you have that potential right there. When you move back over to the backups here at the other tackle spot, Lucas Niang, isn't it nice to be able to use a 3rd round draft pick at a position that you don't even need for that season? You've got a 3rd round draft pick here, a guy who looks like you hope maybe can develop into a starter at some point. Maybe 2 seasons down the road, you can let Fisher go when he's starting to get a little advanced in terms of age, save $15 million a season, still have Niang here on that rookie contract for probably 2 more years. Then maybe if you absolutely got to, use a franchise tag or something on Niang and save a ton of money here. But Niang doesn't even need to hit the field this year unless you start getting hit with a lot of injuries. But he's there, 3rd round draft pick, $820,000, another good move. And then you have Ryan Hunter here, who's still an unknown. Don't know if you'll even see Hunter at all in the field this year. $675K. Hunter will be fighting for a roster spot for sure. But, here at tackle here, you've got 2 guys here, good quality starters. Mitchell Schwartz, outstanding starter, an elite guy. And then you've got Remmers here, quality backup, who can not only back up a tackle, back up anywhere on the offensive line. You wouldn't mind if Remmers is the kind of guy who, as long as he's healthy, you wouldn't mind him going all the way through the playoffs. You wouldn't mind carrying this guy into the Super Bowl. He's that quality of a player, and we'll see if the back injury or anything else keeps him down. You're good here at tackle, and you've even got some hope here for future seasons that you get younger and better here with Niang. All right, now let's do center. Austin Reeder. A year ago we all thought We all thought that Reeder could step in and handle that center position, but he stepped up last year and he proved it. Good quality starter right here, only $3.8 million. Center isn't a high paying position anyway, but you've got a guy here who is good quality starter, going to hold down that starter spot. You don't have to worry about that. Is he the best center in football? No, not by a long shot, but $3.8 million, you can't do any better than that. You really can't do any better than that value-wise. Williams is the guy who I put on here. As far as I know, this is the only other center that the Chiefs actually have on the roster as a guy who actually plays center a lot. They've got other guys on the roster who can move around the center if they need to. I don't know if Williams is going to make the team, but if he does, he would only be making $610. You move over to Dr. Laurent right here. This is a starting position that Laurent used to be able to fill quite accurately. Now, since his injuries, Dr. Laurent has struggled to come back and be what he was before. Don't know if that's rust. Don't know if that's him losing his step due to the injuries. Don't know if he's still battling some of those injuries. Just kind of things that aren't bad enough to keep you off the football field, but bad enough to keep you from playing at what you would want to play at. Cap number this year, only $5.5 million, so it's not bad. He's worth having there on the field. But when you look at Dr. Laurent here for this season, we'll see. That's Laurent Duvernay Tardif. We'll see if he can actually keep that starting spot. I expect he will. I really, really don't expect Remmers to take that spot. Remmers is here if you need to. If Laurent starts to regress even more, if some kind of an early age and injuries combination is keeping him from playing the way we all want him to play, we'd all love to see him get back to what he was a couple of seasons ago in 2017. And I think especially in at the late part of 2017, we'd love to see him get back to that. But if he doesn't, you have Remmers here that you could try to slide in to that spot. Fair is a guy, again, undrafted guy, $610,000. He'll be fighting for a roster spot. At the other guard position, Andrew Wiley, he stepped up and took over that spot last year. He didn't get to keep it at the end of the season. I think, and I don't know this for sure, but when you look at the injuries that he was battling for two different parts of the season, he still seemed to be battling injuries late in the season. When he got on the field, he played well. Those injuries kept him out. Eventually, Wisniewski kind of took that spot away from him. And I really don't know if Wiley ever got back to being totally healthy. By that point in the season, the Chiefs didn't need to worry about it. But when Wiley was on the field, he handled the starting job very well. He's coming back, $750,000, very cheap, still young, can still get better. And then behind him, we have Allegretti for $710K. Allegretti should be on the roster this year. Still don't know exactly how good he can be. Allegretti is a guy who I think you drafted in the 6th or 7th round last year. You still have hopes that he can develop and get better. We just haven't seen him do it on an NFL field here. So when you look at the offensive line overall, your starters are fine. You've got at least 4 guys that you know should be solid starters. You've got a 5th guy that you think and hope can be a solid starter. If he's not, you've got a 6th guy here in Remmers. You've got 6 guys here who are either average or better. 6 guys here, and that's more than a lot of NFL teams can say. Is your depth good? It's not unless we see a couple more guys step up, such as Niang or maybe Allegretti. So unless we see a couple of these guys here, you don't want a lot of injuries on the offensive line. That's something that could potentially hurt you as the season goes on. But don't expect that to happen. You could probably take as many as 2 injuries here on the offensive line and still have a decent offensive line here. You've got enough guys around. So for instance, if Wiley were to again struggle with injuries, or if Dr. Laurent were to struggle with injuries and all of a sudden, you've got problems here at guard, you're still okay. You've got 2 tackles who are good. You've got a center who's good and solid. You could patch it through there at guard, maybe even go back out and find somebody in free agency to fill in for a few games. You should still be fine here, but that's your weaker spot, is your offensive line depth. Everywhere else, you were fine. Wide receiver, you're fine. Running back, you're fine. Tight end doesn't matter because you're so deep at these other 2 positions. If Kelsey went down, would there be a drop-off? Yes, of course there would. There would absolutely be a drop-off, but you could shift things around. Offensive line depth may be an issue, but you've got Remmers here to move around and cover for that. So unless you just get hit with a boatload of injuries here at offensive line, you really have nothing to worry about that here either. So the Chiefs moving forward, What can you expect in 2020? You can expect them to be great. There's no reason not to expect them to just have another outstanding season, compete for a Super Bowl. Are there a handful of teams out there? Excuse me, are there a handful of teams out there who can compete with you? Yes, absolutely. And that's during the regular season and that's during the postseason as well. I think if you're the Chiefs, the key thing you want to try to do here is to pace yourselves. It's not important to go 16 and 0. It's not even important to go 14 and 2. The only important thing is to get to the playoffs healthy and have home field advantage for either throughout the playoffs or for be at least that number 2 seed. As long as you're doing that, you don't want to play that extra wild card game because that would indicate not only do you have an extra game to play and that you don't have home field in the AFC title game, but it would also indicate that something went wrong during the season, and whatever went wrong during the season will probably still be going on wrong during the playoffs. You don't want to be that bad. The point is there's no need to try to just crush it every single month of the season. If you've got guys who are nursing injuries, you should allow them, I think, to have an extra week of rest if you need to. You want to be healthy at the end of the season, and so you have an advantage there that you don't feel like necessarily every week that every single player who's available has to be on the field. And that's not to say you're not trying to win every game, because you are. And if you go 14 and 2, great. You know that you've locked up home field throughout. But you want to try to get to the playoffs healthy, have a first round bye, and then get that home field throughout. And that's the focus they need to have as they go through the season. So we'll see what happens. Thank you again for watching. I think that's enough for today. We'll have more videos coming up. Have a great one. Goodbye.